As we prepare our hearts for worship, I'm going to ask you to pick up your pie plate for a minute. Art is powerful, isn't it? It's powerful. I see Dylan nodding. Dylan knows something about that. Whether it's a stunning painting or a thought-provoking poem, a beautiful drama, or a moving piece of music, art has a way, doesn't it, of taking us on a journey, of helping us find and make sense of what life means. How many of you have ever been emotionally moved by a piece of art? How many of you have ever had a transcendent moment because of a piece of art? How many of you have ever been challenged to think about something in an all-new way because of a piece of art? Yeah? Sometimes with art, we can communicate something deeper and more profound than we could other ways. So it's no wonder to me that when it comes to the Easter story, the resurrection story, we've turned to art to communicate this mystery, this deep truth, this incredible good news. The story that we tell today, the Easter story, the story of resurrection, for thousands of years, people have proclaimed that this story changes everything. That this story is life-changing, world-changing good news. That this story, that it's the pivotal heart and center of our faith. So of course it's no wonder that all these artists, from poets to musicians to painters, they've tried to communicate the deep wonder of it. There's only one problem with trying to depict the resurrection. Anyone know what it is? Retired pastor over here. It was invisible. Yes. No one actually witnessed that pivotal moment that is the center of our faith. There's no description of it anywhere in the Bible. All we get in the biblical story is the lead up to it, and then the aftermath of it, the impact that it has, the effect that it has. And what that means is that an artist can't just illustrate it like you would any other biblical scene. Now, sure, you can show the empty tomb, or you can show the resurrected Jesus talking to Mary in the garden, or appearing to the disciples in that locked room, or eating with them on the beach. But that's not the actual moment of the resurrection. If you're going to artistically interpret and communicate the power of the resurrection, you really have to use your imagination. And in many ways, you have to become a theologian. So here's where your pie plates come in. Let's have a little fun for a moment. Most of you have a pie plate of sand in front of you, and if you don't, your neighbor will share with you when they're done in just a moment. We're going to become artists for a minute, and we're going to draw the resurrection in the sand. I know, sounds a little wild. And not to worry if you're embarrassed about your artistic skills, I am too. The good news is this is sand. And so when you're done, you can just wipe it away. No one has to see. Before you start drawing, here are a couple questions for you. What does the Easter story mean to you? What happened in the resurrection? What do you think happened in the resurrection? Why is the proclamation, Christ is risen, he is risen indeed, why is that such good news? Why is it such good news for you, for your neighbor, for a hurting world? So think about that for a minute, and then here comes the tricky part. How would you visually show what the resurrection means to you? So take a minute, draw in the sand. How would you show what the resurrection means to you? Anyone want to share what you're drawing or what you've drawn? Rainey. Clouds and a halo. Oh, beautiful. Okay. Okay. It looks like a sun that you've got there, Ralph. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to share what you're drawing? Yeah. Gretchen.
Quite often when I see clouds and it looks like radiance is coming out of the clouds, this is for real. I mean, this is not what, and it always looks like, to me, it seems like God's letting people up. Okay. They're taking. So what I have here is clouds, and then I have some radiance.
Beautiful.
And then and these are people that are being taken up.
I love it. Anyone else? What you're drawing? All right.
I drew a tree that has a huge number of arms and then roots that go all around the world, sharing the love and the growth and the creativity of what we see in the best of nature.
I love it. I love it. Oh, yes. Megan back there.
It's a heart bursting with love.
Oh, wow. Mother and daughter both drew hearts bursting with love. That's amazing. Well, thank you for having a little fun and indulging me for a moment. A few years back, John Dominic Crossan and his wife Sarah Sexton Crossan, they published a book about resurrection art, and there has been a whole lot of it over 2,000 years. Their book is called Resurrecting Easter: How the West Lost and the East Kept the Original Easter Vision. You see, they were traveling and they noticed that in the eastern centers of Christianity, places like Eastern Europe and Asia and the Middle East, the artistic representations of the resurrection, they were quite different, sometimes startlingly different from the ones that we have here in the West. Let me show you a few images here. Here is what our Western images of the resurrection usually looks like. You can go to the next one, Kenny. Jesus steps over sleeping guards or startled guards. He rises up, this triumphant, glorious individual, stepping out of the grave. You can go to the next one. And these images, they reflect in many ways our Western focus on personal faith. When you ask many Western Christians what the resurrection means, you will often hear something like, "It means I'm saved. Jesus conquered death and sin for me." You can go to the last one of the Western ones. Now let me show you what Eastern depictions of the resurrection look like. Excuse me. You can go to the next one. Jesus has shattered the gates of hell. They're there at his feet. I'm not sure. Go to the next image there. Back to the last one here. I'm not sure you can see it in this, but in many of them, Hades lies on the ground holding his stomach because Jesus has emptied Hades' stomach of all the people that death has eaten up. And in these images, Jesus holds the hands of Adam and Eve, representing all of humanity, and he's lifting them out of the grave with him. You can go to the next one. In other words, Jesus doesn't just rise as an individual. When Jesus rises, He lifts the whole human family out of that grave. He frees us from the prisons in which we have trapped ourselves, the oppressive empires of our own making. And these Eastern scenes, they're scenes of this grand liberation for the whole of humanity, this new creation. You can go to the next one. We no longer have to be slaves to sin, hurting and killing one another with our ways. There's this new life that lifts us all up into beloved community. And Spong and other theologians argue that now more than ever, with what is going on in the Western world, we Christians in the Western world need to resurrect the East in Easter. We need to rediscover this Eastern resurrection art because it focuses on the communal and the social meaning of the resurrection and not just the individual. So today, as we continue our Easter worship, I want to invite you to let this art expand your understanding of the meaning of the resurrection. Let's continue to worship.